Hi, ladies, Mr. Sullivan. Today, we're going to be doing a lesson on the volume of a cylinder. This is going to be done on Desmos, so make sure you attend the Zoom. That way you can complete the activity with myself and Miss Colorundo. So the first thing we're going to look at is we're going to look at our learning target. Our learning target for today is I can calculate the volume of a cylinder by using the volume of a cylinder formula. So if we look at this, we're going to be learning about a new three-dimensional figure today, which is the cylinder. And this is what a cylinder looks like. It basically has a circle as its top and its base. And we're going to be looking at its radius and its height. Remember, the radius is half your diameter. So if I'm given my diameter, I take my diameter and I divide by 2. So if my diameter was 10, my radius would be 5 because 10 divided by 2 is 5. And just to give you a warning, we have oblique cylinders, which are just basically cylinders that are slanted or tilted over. It does not alter its volume. We would still use the exact same volume formula, pi r squared h, okay? So what is a cylinder? A cylinder is simply a solid figure that is bounded by a closed cylindrical surface and 2 parallel planes. So we're basically saying that this piece of our cylinder right here is parallel to its base, or their planes. Remember, planes are just flat spaces in geometry. Things to know is that h is your height and r is your radius. That's pretty common sense since we've been doing a few formulas over this past unit. And our formula is v equals pi r squared h. So for this activity, similar to when we did areas of sectors of circles, you're going to have to actually type out your volume formula each time, sort of as if we were to do this on a piece of paper. Okay. So let's just practice typing it. So type the volume of a cylinder formula to the right. If you forgot the formula, it's below. So remember, it's v equals pi r squared h. If you forget how to type pi on your screen, it's just pi, and then it automatically changes to a pi symbol. If you look, it says check again. The reason why is because I did not finish writing my volume formula. So what we're going to do is we're going to type pi r squared h. And you did it correctly because you got the equation princess feedback, okay? So now let's go over some examples of actually how to apply the volume formula to find the volume of a three-dimensional figure. So for the directions, for each of these, we're just gonna find the volume to the nearest tenth. We're not gonna leave our answers in terms of pi. We'll do that another day. So we have this cylinder right here, and we are going to do it as if we were to do this on a piece of paper. We're going to write down our formula, make our substitutions, type it in the calculator, and then get our final answer. So it says, write your formula. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write my formula, which is pi r squared h. So I typed in my formula 100% correct. Now we're going to make our substitutions. So we're going to write out our pi, and we now have to ask ourselves, what's our radius? So I look at my image. Is my radius my 11? Or my 6? Very good, it's your 6. And whenever we make a substitution, we're going to wrap it in parentheses. So we're going to put a 6 in parentheses, then we're going to square it. And we're not done yet because we're missing this right here. We're missing our height. So I can't use my 6 again because my 6 is my radius. So I'm now going to use my 11 for my height. And again, whenever we make a substitution, we wrap it in parentheses. And if you look, you got the excellent setup. That's the way we know we got it right. And now I want to round to the nearest tenth. If I look, after my 0 is a 7, that's higher than a 5, I'm going to go to the sky. That 0 is going to turn into a 1. So I have 1244.1 as my volume. And then I hit submit. Okay. Pretty good. It's not that bad, I promise. Let's go on to a new example. So for this example, we want to find the volume to the nearest tenth yet again. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to write down our formula. So volume equals pi r squared h. Perfect. We typed it correctly. Now we're going to make our substitution. So we have to ask ourselves, what's our radius? What's our height? If you look, my radius is 4 and my height is 5. So this is my radius and this is my height. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in my substitution. So I'm going to type in my pi, my radius of 4, I'm going to square it, and my height of 5. And look, I got that excellent setup, so I know I did it correctly. Now we're just going to type in 251, and I want to round to the nearest tenth. I look next to my 3. It's a 2. Is 2 bigger than 5 or smaller than 5? It's smaller, so I stay on the floor. My 3 doesn't change. And that's my final answer. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. Okay, this question's a little more challenging because if you look, it's a little different. So we want to find the volume of this cylinder to the nearest tenth again. So the first thing we do is we write our formula. So pi r squared h. And I got it right. Now I need to make my substitutions. So I'm going to type in my pi. I need to do my radius squared, and then I need to do my height. So I'm going to do this a little out of order. What's my height? It's 15. Remember, we measure ourselves vertically for height. We don't measure slanted or this way. We measure ourselves vertically. I had to think about that for a second. And we put in our 15. I'm going to put in my 12 because I think my 12 is my radius. It says check again. So this means we did do something wrong. So let's think about this. Is 12 a diameter or is it a radius? Is 12 a diameter or is it a radius? It's a diameter because I'm going across my whole cylinder's base. So if I had a 12 as my diameter, what's my radius? It's 6 because 12 divided by 2 is 6. If I can, and instead of putting a 12, I'm going to put a 6. And now we did it correct. So now it says, oh, it says my internet connection's unstable. Go figure. So now that I know that excellent setup is perfect, I'm going to now type in my volume of 1,696.5. Now, the reason why it's 0.5 is because if I look after my 4, it's a 6. That 6 is bigger than a 5, so I'm going to go to the sky. So I have to bring that 4 with me. 4 plus 1, 5. Okay, so here's our final question for the day. It's going to lead into 2 extensions, and then who was correct. So Mr. O'Sullivan and Miss Colorundo were having a major mathematical argument. Mr. O'Sullivan said the 2 cylinders to the left have different volumes because one is slanted. I'm typically right, so I would assume I'm right for this one. And Miss Colorundo said that the 2 cylinders to the left, this is a typo, this should say left, actually have the same volume if you apply the formula correctly. Who do you think is right? I'm going to go with myself because I'm always right. Let's be honest. So what we're going to do is in order to figure out if we're correct, we're going to find the volume of each cylinder. That's how we would approach this question. This question was on the Regents a few years ago. I know there's no Regents this year, but we need to give you some Regents stuff. So we're going to find our volume of each cylinder. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to write our formula. So pi r squared h. And we typed it correctly. Beautiful. We're now going to make our substitutions. So when we make our substitutions, we type in our pi. Our radius is 5. I square it. And then my height is 11.5. If I look, my volume of this cylinder is 903.2 units cubed or meters cubed. Because if I look after my 2, it's a 0, smaller than a 5, stay on the floor. So I'm just going to type in my 903.2. I think I'm right so far. The screen's telling me I'm right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to find the volume of this cylinder right here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to type out that cylinder formula. So let's see if Miss C or myself is right. So we do our pi r squared height. Now I look and I type in pi again. Oh, now percent up. I square my radius and then I plug in my height. Now here's the trick question that a lot of you tend to mess up with. Is 11.5 my height or is 12 my height? It's your 11.5 because remember, we measure ourselves vertically. If you're at the doctor's office and they say, what's your height? You're not standing like this and then measuring yourself. No, you're standing up straight. So my height is 11.5. And now I want to plug in my radius. If I look, we're running into the same issue we ran into a little before. I forgot which question because you know my memory's not the greatest. If you look, my base has a diameter of 10. It doesn't have a radius of 10, it has a diameter of 10. So I need to ask myself, what's my radius? So I take my 10, divide by 2. What's 10 divided by 2? 5. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be plugging in 5 for my radius. And if you look, I got excellent setup. So I did do this correctly. And this is actually the same number as before. So now I got to type in 903.2, which is a little weird. Let's look. Before I got 903.2, and now I'm getting 903.2. So I'm really a little perplexed as to why it's the same volume. So Mr. O'Sullivan was wrong. It was Miss C that's correct, and here's why. If you think about it, we know to find the volume of a prism, we use the formula, volume equals BH, where B is the area of your base. And if you look at these two images, they have the exact same base. They have the exact same base. If you look at the two cylinders, they have the same base and the same height. So their volumes have to be equal to each other, not congruent, sorry, equal to each other. Because this has a radius of 5. This has a radius of 5. This has a height of 11.5. This has a height of 11.5. So that's how we know we're correct. Well, not me correct. I was wrong, even though I'm always right. Ms. Colorundo was correct in this situation. Okay, so that's it for today. Today, you only have a Desmos. Tomorrow, you will have a Delta Math assignment on how to find the volume of a cylinder. If you have any questions, again, as always, please email myself or Ms. Colorundo. And have a great day and a great weekend, ladies. Stay safe. Stop recording. Oh, it didn't do that. I have to actually hit stop recording. Stop.